Welcome to this week's episode of Jet Lag in the News. I'm Steve Jasper, aka the Jet Lag Guy. Due to the current situation in the Strait of Hormuz, travellers face rising fees, fewer flight options, and the need to assess whether a planned trip is worth the cost. This is due to oil prices not only being high, but unpredictably volatile. As a result, many airlines are cancelling flights and increasing fares. The impact is being felt particularly hard on budget airlines that typically have slimmer profit margins. On the 9th of April, the Airports Council International (ACI Europe) notified the European Commission of a fuel shortage that would, quote, significantly harm the European economy, end quote, due to the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. The ACI has asked the Commission to step in to map current and projected fuel availabilities against needs, identify alternative import sources, assess threats to intra-EU fuel flows, and evaluate commercial and strategic reserve levels. As of the 10th of April, the European Union has introduced the Entry-Exit System, or EES, which uses biometric data to track who is entering and exiting the EU and adjacent nations, including Norway and Switzerland, replacing passport stamps. The new screening has been causing delays at airports, and I recently reported on a flight that left Tours Airport in France with many passengers still trying to clear customs after an hour and a half. However, while the first time a passenger uses the EES may take longer, subsequent interactions at customs should be quicker. Biometric data is already used in other countries including the United States, Australia, Singapore, Japan and Canada. KLM's first Airbus A350-900 should be ready for delivery towards the end of the summer 2026 schedule. The aircraft will be a key component of their long-haul operations, with a total of 22 Airbus A350-900s joining the fleet. This aircraft is 25% more fuel efficient than the Boeing 777-200ER and quieter. One of the first anticipated destinations is Toronto. On-time performance for North American carriers has deteriorated in the month of March, according to Cirium. The carriers' weighed on-time average fell 5 percentage points to 71%, although JetBlue's on-time performance increased. Despite the current difficulties with aviation in the Gulf, Qatar Airways is expanding its operations. Qatar is adding flights to Shanghai, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Lagos and the Australian city of Perth, in addition to the already strong links to Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. Emerging markets such as Kenya, South Africa and Egypt will have more direct connections through Doha, and Qatar is also looking at Southeast Asia, Central Asia and Latin America as potential destinations. Given the current situation in the Persian Gulf, most travellers are keen to avoid that part of the world for the moment. Qantas's new Project Sunrise will connect Sydney and Melbourne with London directly, bypassing the Gulf completely. The aircraft that will service these routes will be named after celestial bodies, in homage to the airline's double sunrise flights during World War II, which were made under cover of darkness and guided only by the stars. The new Western Sydney Airport in Sydney, Australia, set to open this year, will have direct Air New Zealand flights to Auckland. Ticket sales for this flight have been opened, with the first services scheduled for the 26th of October 2026. This will open up connectivity to places such as Parramatta and the Blue Mountains, and unlike the current Sydney airport, will be open 24/7. And now, over to some research. Is it healthy to fly regularly? Researchers examined a case study of a 48-year-old woman who regularly flew between the United Kingdom and Italy, which is only one time zone separating. The patient complained of, quote, early evening somnolence and unpleasantly early wake-up time in the UK, especially immediately after travelling, end quote. She wore an actigraph which measured rest activity and light exposure. Analysing the data from the actigraph, the researchers concluded, quote, Frequent travel across one time zone resulted in prolonged sleep-wake disturbance, with no obvious pattern of resolution after the flight. And now for sport. As you'd be aware, on the 11th, San Francisco 49ers face off against the Los Angeles Rams at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Last week, I discussed San Francisco 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan's complaints about the long flight to Australia. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell recently visited Melbourne, and he had a few comments to make about Kyle Shanahan's complaints, saying he found it an easy flight to Australia. And finally, we've been wowed by the photos sent to us from Artemis 2, such as this one. But did you realize astronauts get constipation? One of the factors that causes constipation for astronauts is jet lag, because when you're in space, the sun never sets. So there's nothing to regulate your circadian rhythms. There's good reasons they packed laxatives on the spacecraft. If you have any questions or want to know more about what I do, check out my website at www.jetlagguy.com.au. There's another book on the way, and you'll be the first to know when it's released. And that's this week's Jet Lag in the News. I'm Steve Jasper, aka the Jet Lag Guy. Thank you for watching.